Mongolia is a vast, landlocked country sandwiched between the Siberian taiga forests of northern Russia and the Gobi Desert barrier of southern China. Its area is approximately 1.56 million square kilometers, or about 603,000 square miles. Yet, this continent-sized nation is home to a population of just around 3.5 million people. That works out to an average of only 2 people per square kilometer. This statistic grants Mongolia the undisputed title of the world's least densely populated sovereign state. But why is it so empty? Why is this massive country a virtually uninhabited expanse? Consider this. In a small country like Bangladesh, over 1,200 people live per square kilometer. Mongolia's sparse population is an epic mystery. Where are the inheritors of the land from which Genghis Khan's cavalry rode out to conquer half the world? How was this inescapable reality of a sparse population built up over centuries? Let's try to uncover the whole story. The story of Mongolia's emptiness must begin with its soil, water, and air. Its nature is both mesmerizing in its pristine beauty and brutally harsh, turning survival into a difficult struggle. Mongolia's climate is defined as extreme continental. Hundreds of kilometers from the ocean and surrounded by massive land masses, the seasonal and daily temperature differences are incredible. In summer, daytime temperatures can easily reach 40 degrees Celsius. In the same spot, winter temperatures plummet to minus 40 degrees Celsius. This 80 degrees Celsius swing is an immense challenge for all life and human habitation. The winter here is not just cold, it is long-lasting, running from approximately October to April, more than half the year. During this time, the icy air mass known as the Siberian High or Siberian anticyclone turns the entire country into a frozen realm. Rivers and lakes turn to stone-hard ice. This bone-chilling cold virtually halts daily life and presents the toughest trial for herders. This extreme climate and an average elevation of nearly 1,580 meters (5,084 feet) make Mongolia largely unsuitable for agriculture. Only 0.8% of the country's total land is permanently arable. The remaining 99% is comprised of grasslands, steppes, rugged mountains, and desert. The vast Altai and Khangai mountain ranges in the north block rain clouds, creating a rain shadow effect where precipitation is almost non-existent in the south. Consequently, the south is home to the Gobi, the world's 5th largest desert. The Gobi isn't a sandy desert, but a cold, rocky expanse that covers about 1/3 of Mongolia. Climate change is causing this desert to grow, swallowing up grazing land and making the nomadic life even harder. Water sources are extremely limited and unevenly distributed. A few major rivers, like the Selenge and Orkhon, flow north into Russia's Lake Baikal. The rest of the country relies on small rivers or salty lakes, which act as a natural barrier to forming large permanent settlements. Beneath the surface of Mongolia's empty expanses lies the long shadow of its tumultuous history. From imperial expansion to religious revolution and the brutal political repressions of the 20th century, every event has left deep scars on its population. In the 13th century, under Genghis Khan and his successors, the Mongols established the largest contiguous land empire in human history. To run the empire and govern new territories, millions of Mongol warriors, administrators, and their families left the Mongolian heartland, spreading across the vast expanse. They settled as a new ruling class in Persia, China, Russia, and Central Asia. After the empire's collapse, most never returned, but instead intermarried with local populations. This process can be seen as a kind of population export, which systematically deprived the Mongolian homeland of a large part of its most productive and reproductive population. After the empire's decline, Mongolia endured centuries of political instability. During this time, the Gelug Yellow Hat school of Tibetan Buddhism spread widely in the 6th century, becoming deeply ingrained in society. It became a social custom for almost every family to dedicate at least one, and sometimes multiple, male sons to the monasteries as Buddhist monks, lamas. These lamas remained celibate for life. The consequence was dramatic. By the early 20th century, nearly 40% of the adult male population were Buddhist monks. This immense withdrawal of men from the reproductive system severely curbed the country's natural birth rate for centuries, acting as a long-term, invisible control on population growth. In the 17th century, the Manchu-led Qing dynasty of China brought Mongolia under its control, ruling for nearly 200 years. Fearing the Mongols as formidable warriors, the Manchu rulers worked to keep them divided and weak. They divided the Mongolian territory into various administrative banners, koshu, and severely restricted travel between them. Encouraged the spread of Buddhism, believing that a devout and pacifist Mongol nation would pose less of a threat to their rule. The darkest chapter unfolded in the 20th century under the shadow of the Soviet Union. Although Mongolia became a People's Republic in 1924, it effectively became a Soviet puppet state. In the 1930s, on the direct orders of Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, a terrifying state-sponsored terror was unleashed. Targeting the intelligentsia, aristocracy, and especially the Buddhist religious establishment, this campaign, modeled after Stalin's Great Purge, resulted in the murder of nearly 30,000 people, including over 17,000 Buddhist monks. More than 700 monasteries were completely destroyed. This mass killing decimated 3 to 5% of the total population, a planned attack on the nation's mind and soul, forever altering Mongolian society and creating a deep psychological wound. The cause of Mongolia's sparse population isn't solely limited to external pressures or historical events. It is also intimately connected to the Mongolian worldview. The nomadic pastoralist culture, shaped over thousands of years, dictates their settlement patterns, social structure, and relationship with nature. The dynamics of the gur, the life of a Mongolian nomad, is not fixed. They move seasonally, a migration called otora, in search of new pasture and water for their millions of livestock, sheep, goats, horses, yaks, and camels. Their dwelling is the ger or yurt, a round tent made of felt and wood, which can be disassembled and reassembled in just a few hours, perfectly suited to the mobility of nomadic life. This way of life has no place for densely populated cities or villages. Nomadic culture places the highest value on vast open space and freedom. Each family requires an enormous area for grazing, resulting in families living kilometers apart from one another. Their social unit is the Kotayil, a small group of families that travel together and assist each other. This lifestyle inherently keeps the population density low. Nomadic culture teaches people to see themselves as part of nature, not its controller. Mongolians believed that the earth, sky, and water are sacred. They considered plowing or digging the earth a form of disrespect. This philosophy discouraged the concept of private land ownership. The land is a common resource, open for grazing. This mindset acted as a cultural barrier to the development of large, permanent, and private property-centric settlements. Even though today about 1/3 of Mongolia's population remains nomadic or semi-nomadic, the influence of modern globalization has reached them. Satellite dishes, solar panels, and motorcycles are now commonplace. Younger generations are migrating to cities in search of better education, healthcare, and job opportunities. However, the millennia-old nomadic culture is so embedded in the Mongolian psyche that it continues to govern the country's overall population distribution. In the 21st century, new, powerful determinants have complicated Mongolia's story of low population density. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Mongolia embraced a free market economy and opened its vast mineral wealth to foreign investment. The country is extremely rich in copper, coal, gold, uranium, and other rare minerals. Mining is now the primary driver of the economy and contributes a large part of the GDP. However, this reliance has created economic imbalance, often termed the Dutch disease or the resource curse. The overdevelopment of the mining sector strengthens the currency, causing other productive sectors like agriculture and animal husbandry to become less competitive. While mining creates vast wealth, it does not create many jobs. Mongolia's sparse population is not the result of a single cause. It is a complex and multifaceted narrative where every chapter is interconnected. The harsh, extreme nature makes survival a constant, difficult test. The bloody history repeatedly culled the population and controlled its psychological framework. The millennia-old nomadic culture renders the idea of dense settlement irrelevant, establishing a unique relationship with nature. The modern, mineral-dependent economy and unregulated urbanization have created an extremely imbalanced population distribution. The cumulative result is modern-day, sparsely populated Mongolia, a vast, quiet, and nearly empty country. However, this emptiness has its own beauty and majesty. Here, nature endures in its pristine and unadulterated form. Here, people learn to understand their own smallness in the face of nature's vastness and endure the ultimate test of resilience. While Mongolia's low population may be a challenge from a modern economic development perspective, it is its unique identity, its strength, and the core foundation of its culture. Mongolia stands at a historical crossroads. Climate change threatens the nomadic lifestyle, the resource-based economy fuels social inequality, and the younger generation is torn between tradition and modernity. The future of Genghis Khan's descendants depends on how they manage this vast, empty expanse, utilizing its resources sustainably to build a balanced society. Though few in number, their thousand-year-old philosophy of resilience and coexistence with nature may offer a deep and relevant lesson for today's crowded world.